If I can also ask supporters, Allahu Akbar, the real chair is here. If I can also ask the staff to introduce themselves, Akaz, will start with yourselves and then we'll move to the front.
Good evening. My name is Afazul Haq. I'm Head of Corporate Strategy and Communities in the Council, and my team is providing the policy support to the Commission.
Hi everyone, I'm Claire Christopher. I'm a Senior Strategy and Policy Officer here at the Council and providing the policy support for the Women's Commission.
Hello everyone, my name's Samia. I'm a graduate on placement in Corporate Strategy and Communities and I'm helping support the Women's Commission. But lovely to see you all today.
Just to kind of make sure that that I just end the etiquette bit and then I'll pass it on to you because I really
carry on.
No, I am very tired. I'm jet lagged. I just landed today. Just to say, people are allowed to take photos, but if you're not happy with it, please let us know. And then I guess in terms of the toilets, are they outside on the right? Are there, inshallah. And then I'll introduce myself and I'll let you introduce yourself proper because that wasn't proper introduction there. So I'm the CEO of Women's Inclusive Team, which is a local charity that's based in Tower Hamlets. It's been running over 20 years, and we've got a number of projects, but a domestic abuse program project that's been running, funded by the local authority and also Solace, and doing some amazing work. And I don't know if you've seen some of the bus stop campaigns around in the borough, just making sure that we approach things in a cultural sensitive way, in a way that our community can understand. And so I'll pass it over to you, Chair.
Thank you. Just to say welcome, I'm sure you've been given a proper perspective on what we're doing here for the last 6 months. I think it's our 7th month. We were not on the same plane, but I also landed. So,
Oh, did you?
So that's really nice. Good to be here. Okay, and less of the introduction. You met all of the commissioners, and this is our last public review. And I'm sorry about that, but there are ongoing discussions on the issue of the Women's Commission and what services should look like for women, the best of the services that should look like for all the women of the borough. This is an inclusive effort, and we are equally all committed to making sure that this is some way the voices of all of the women of the borough and not just us as members of the commission. It's an independent commission. We are not beholden with our opinions as far as the council is concerned, because the council wishes to hear all of your voices, and I hope that we will have represented to the best of our ability. I think there are some things that I need to say, which is that it's been live streamed and there are people on live. I don't know how many. Usually we have good numbers, but I don't know. I'm not quite sure today. What else do I need to say? Microphones on mute when you're not speaking, which I always forget. And if anyone wishes to raise any points during the discussion, we will definitely just please just indicate whatever way, you know, and say your name and where you come from so that we are able to record it clearly. So the very first presentation is coming from, let me just look at it quickly. You, Claire. So we have two excellent women who support the commission, Claire and Muslima. I know, and she's not well today, and of course, they are from Afazul Haq's team, and we've been blessed with their contribution and efforts to manage the work that we do. So Claire, the floor is yours. Thank you. How many minutes is it?
Thank you. Samia, could you go next? Hi everyone. So I'm going to be running through some of the findings that the Women's Commission have got from their community engagement activities. So for those who aren't aware, the Women's Commission was established in 2024 to investigate and address inequalities affecting women across the borough. And it responds to the fact that the outcomes for women fall far beyond the outcomes for men across employment, health, safety and leadership. Next. The Commission represents this borough-wide commitment to address inequalities for women and ensure that all women can lead safe, healthy and fulfilling lives. So to achieve this, the Commission seeks to examine the barriers, disadvantages and risks faced by women in Tower Hamlets, identify practical evidence-based solutions that can close the gender gap, and propose a clear and actionable women's strategy that the Council, partners and the wider community can adopt to drive long-term change. So to shape the scope of the Commission, a workshop with residents was held in 2024 to identify key priority areas. And from this workshop, the areas of leadership, safety, health and employment were identified. So to explore the lived experience of women in health, safety, leadership and employment, the Commission conducted extensive consultation with residents across the borough. Initially, we held, oh, sorry, Samia, can you go back one? Thank you. Initially, we held a survey on Let's Talk Tower Hamlets, which was open for 8 weeks. To ensure that the survey was accessible, it was offered an online version in print in a simplified format, translated into Bengali, and with the support available for completion as well. To gain a deeper insight into the lived experience of women, the Commission then convened 2 community workshops per theme, and it was delivered in partnership with local organisations across the borough. The workshops ran from July to September, and they built on the survey findings, enabling women to share their experiences in greater depth. Overall, 118 women participated in community workshops, with 21 attending the safety-specific workshops delivered in partnerships with the Women's Inclusive Team and Solace Women's Aid. The Commission then delivered a series of supplementary workshops to ensure that women had the opportunity to share their lived experiences and to address lower engagement among specific groups. Discussion focused on the 4 key themes, and workshops were run in partnership with local organisations, ensuring trusted and safe spaces. So as you can see on the right-hand side, we have a list of organisations that we worked with to try and tackle underrepresentation across different groups of women. In total, 303 women shared their lived experiences with the Commission, 111 from the survey and 118 from community workshops, and 74 from our supplementary workshops. Engagement reflected a broad cross-section of women, with some overrepresentation in the 35 to 64 age group and some underrepresentation for young girls aged 0 to 15. And of the 303 women that we spoke to, 175 spoke about safety, so that's 58%. 80 women engaged with us through the survey, 21 through our community workshops, and 74 through our supplementary workshops. And as you can see, it largely followed the same pattern of representation as our overall representation for the whole survey and the community workshops. So when we look at safety then, the Commission seeks to improve safety of women and girls in Tower Hamlets and ensure everyone feels safe in all parts of the borough, from travelling to work, on public transport, walking through the borough or accessing any space across the borough. But currently we know that women and young girls have unequal outcomes with regard to safety when compared to men. In 2023, 83% of female respondents experienced behaviours in the borough that made them feel unsafe, such as catcalling. 75% of domestic abuse survivors are female, and nearly 95% of domestic violence perpetrators are male. So when we look at our findings from our survey and our community workshops, we can see that 8 in 10 women who took part in the survey felt unsafe in public spaces across Tower Hamlets, with many describing anxiety when alone, leading them to avoid certain routes, public transport, or areas perceived as high risk. Poor street lighting and poorly maintained public spaces intensified these feelings, limiting women's freedom of movement and ability to travel safely to work, education, and social activities. Among the women who reported feeling safe in the borough, many adopted strategies to manage risk, such as relying on a strong sense of community, avoiding dark or isolated areas, or using spaces with CCTV surveillance. But ultimately, women described feeling as though the borough was a lot smaller for them than for men. Women reported fear and harassment in public spaces, particularly around men in large groups. Many described harassment and sexism as routine, shaping the precautions they take to stay safe, such as avoiding certain routes, modifying behaviours, keeping safe distance from men, and only travelling in well-lit busy places. Nearly 2/3 of women, in Tower Hamlets said they rarely saw police in their neighbourhoods and wanted more visible local patrolling. Increased presence of officers, enforcement teams, or community champions was seen as a way to reduce antisocial behaviour. Women want to play an active role in designing safer public spaces and services, ensuring that policies and community initiatives reflect their lived experiences and address daily safety challenges. So in summary, women recommended that to tackle experiences of feeling unsafe in public spaces, that we improve and increase lighting across public spaces in the borough, that we improve and increase police presence and ensure trauma-informed response, and ensure that resident working groups are implemented across the council to allow for co-design, making women's voices central to policy decisions that take place across the borough.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just because we have received all the evidence that Claire very kindly referred to, it's not conclusive that, we've not shut the door to receiving your representation or information from all of you. I'm going to ask the commissioners to make any comments on the presentation or on this issue first, and then we will go to our guests. So anyone? Chio, Nazia, Chio? No? Yeah, come on, go.
I just wanted to say that those sessions that took place was really powerful. It meant
Okay.
the way that we did it was really powerful. We created a safe environment and went to the women, which was super important. And then I guess those surveys of allowing women not to be seen, but to be heard, and that confidentiality was really good. I think in some of the sessions, what I found really surprising were women were telling us normal activities. Women were telling us normal, for them, what was normal of being harassed or having violence, or really shocking scenarios that made me shocked in those sessions, the 2 workshops that I attended, but yet they never reported it. And the feeling of thinking or believing that nothing will happen. Now we're talking about serious assaults in certain situations, really horrific sessions that I, was a bit traumatized hearing, but they never reported it. And I think there is something here about empowering our community to make sure that they do report it and that we support them around that, but also working really closely with the police, because ultimately what the women didn't understand is even if the person isn't captured, it's that intelligence information that was super important. But I found that really interesting, how women were experiencing things, but they found it normal, and they maybe said a few verbal things and they left it to Allah, which is good, because I think that's a way of managing it. But I think I was really upset about the fact that they did not report it.
Thank you, Chair. I won't repeat what Sophia said, and you've made a really important a message there, actually. Like, there are a lot of things happening, but the women are still far too kind of scared to report, and it's really important that we empower that. So over the sessions that we've had, I've seen like some of the feedbacks and governance that we've had, and also the recent, the House of Lords visit that we had, and what the young girls told us. And it's kind of similar conversations that we've had from focus groups as well. Women are telling the same kind of stories, and it's been for such a long time. A lot of work is going on from the council, for us community organisation, but it's still loads of women are still kind of feeling not safe. So that aspect I wanted to kind of really highlight, and hopefully the guest speakers that are here today, we can actually have further conversations on that. So
5 students from 2 of the schools, Swanley and Centre Foundation, and you would no, that was like really inspiring to hear them speaking out, but sad really that they are talking about exactly similar kind of experiences that adults, when we were talking to them, highlighted. And the important thing is not many, there were some people, some women and young people highlighted the issue of online harms. And I'm just coming from a discussion about online harms and the fact that we have something like 40 million pornographic sites based in US that our law enforcement has no power over, but our young people are witnessing some of the pornification of their lives and unauthorized. And there are lots and lots of issues for us to take. So we've got, I'm going to enable about 5 minutes of questions from the DI. Oh, sorry, go on. Where's the, please.
Sorry, it's
Thank you.
Yasmin
Thank you.
Lahami. Good evening, everybody. I'm a DCI and I work out of Bethnal Green Police Station. I have public protection and safeguarding as part of my portfolio. I'm really concerned about listening that women are really not coming forward. I think it's something that we do need to work on. I have a huge team and I'm quite happy to work with all of you. And I think, I mean, do you have like women's groups at the mosque and other communities and that? And I'm really happy to come round and deliver, even if it's once or twice a week for an hour or two, and come and do that across the next few months so that we can encourage people to report. Because I think if that's the gap, you know, I'm happy to come, whatever time you tell me, even if it's at the weekend. I can bring my teams with me. I cover domestic abuse, serious sexual offences, child abuse, and of course, everything else that happens as well, including the online bits and pieces. We can act on online information. We have a lot of resources. Obviously, I can't discuss the tactical side here, but we can help and we can work with you to bring the perpetrators to justice. So I really want to give you my undertaking that I'm happy, and Sophia, you know, I've worked with you previously. I'm more than happy to do that and come and gain that trust and confidence in our community, in Tower Hamlets. You know, don't be afraid to talk to us.
Thank you. Can I just ask you, do you have any statistics about the numbers of women who are reporting violence against them? I'm not asking you to give us that, but maybe.
No, I don't have the exact statistics, but I do know that domestic abuse has increased by about 30% in this financial year.
Okay. So we're going to.
Serious sexual offences, this is across Tower Hamlets and Hackney, yeah? 30%. I would say.
So we are going to hear you a little bit later, so
but
maybe
I won't
we
have
can.
those stats with
No,
me.
that's fine.
But
Maybe
yeah,
you
it
can
has to,
write to
yeah.
us. That's no
Yeah.
problem. I'm going to take one question quick from the, yes, please.
No, so the commission was established last year, but the workshops and the survey was ran over the summer of this year. So from June 2025. Yeah.
Sorry, thank you. Thank you. I'm sure you're going to maybe address some of these. These are national problems. And, you know, the Angeline inquiry said the same thing about women right across the board in our country. And Baroness Longfield has just been appointed to look at the grooming gang of women and young people in particular who are never heard. So I think that there are real issues, and they're not specific to Tower Hamlet, but we want to hear Tower Hamlet voices. We're going to be delighted to coming back to you and see how we can work together. Can I now introduce Councillor Abu Talha, who's a cabinet member for security and safety, and Minara Ahmed from the Vogue, who's a Vogue lead, and Tom Lewis, who's a service manager. I think you are online. So we're going to hear the three of you about your strategy and action.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Commission, for inviting us here today. I think, sorry, I'm just recovering from some sickness, so bear with me. I'll speak little, but hopefully my colleagues can help. Needless to say, violence against women and girls is something that none of us should tolerate in our borough. And it's something that I'm, the Mayor and our team were deeply passionate about in terms of reducing it. That's why when we first looked at the violence against women and girls strategy, which was launched last year, we consulted with more women. It was probably like 3 or 4 times the number of women that the last consultation run. And today is another example of something similar where we genuinely want to hear from people. Consultation, not for consultation's sake. If there's any gaps in services, whether it's a reporting, like the sister said before, whether it's another an opportunity that we can find in making women feel safe, it's genuinely something that we want to listen to. I think in the borough, there are some good things I think we are doing that other boroughs aren't doing, but it's probably not enough. And I'm genuinely here to also listen once again from yourselves. I think having recently been a father of a daughter for the first time, it's something that obviously I'm personally, not that if I didn't have a daughter, I wouldn't be as passionate, but it's just added that personal sort of motivation to look into this as well. So I've got very able officers here to assist me, which and they can go through some of the things that we're doing. And then if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. But thank you for inviting us.
Thank you. Go ahead. Just behind you.
Hi, I'm Minara. Thank you for inviting us. So I'm just going to talk about what is happening across Tower Hamlets with regards to women's safety in public spaces. I just wanted to clarify that the focus will be in terms of public spaces rather than going into detail about the domestic abuse kind of approach we have. So just to set the scene in terms of the national landscape, women's safety in public spaces is a pressing concern, and it's gaining momentum. And the UK government is in its 5th national action plan, which recognises that women's safety in public spaces needs further work, funding, and implementation. Locally, what does that look like? So women's safety in public spaces is a priority within the recently launched serious violence strategy, theme 6 in particular, which essentially denotes that prioritising women's safety in public spaces is a must. Last year, we had the borough's first ever extensive VAUG needs assessment, which recognised work that needs to be done around women's safety in public spaces. We are in our 4th VAUG strategy, which was launched in October last year. And this is the first time ever women's safety in public spaces has been included. And it sets out the role that we can all play in tackling this issue, not just the VAUG team, because women's safety in public spaces is much broader than that. Just to also note that whilst the VAUG team have absorbed women's safety in public spaces, this is without any additional resource. The development and implementation of an annual action plan, which includes various activities that we are doing with measurable outputs and outcomes. The Community Safety Partnership, the borough's statutory crime and governance board, has made a commitment for 10% increase in women who report that they feel safer in public spaces at night. The VAUG strategy has 3 overarching priorities. preventing harm and promoting safety, supporting victims and survivors, and responding to perpetrators. I won't go into detail about this, but essentially this is our VAWG model, the umbrella being preventing harm and promoting safety, and it's ensuring work with victims, survivors, perpetrators, and the broader community. And as I mentioned earlier, there's around 70 to 80 activities being delivered with measurable outcomes and outputs. So as I mentioned earlier, this issue isn't just unique to the VAWG team, it needs a multi-agency and multi-services and teams approach. So I'll try to kind of summarise under various teams and agencies. So in terms of my team, we're responsible for the development and implementation of the VAWG strategy, which now includes women's safety in public spaces. And also we are trying to work with other agencies and partners to see how they can input into the delivery plan. And again, the challenge remains that they ask, is there any additional resource so that we can deliver on what you're asking? And unfortunately, there really isn't much additional resource, but I'll speak more about what other areas are doing with existing staff. When I'm listing this isn't all my team do. So as I mentioned earlier, we're not talking about domestic abuse, but more so the public space realm. So there's continued awareness raising and promotion of the women's safety offer in the borough, collaboration with the Tower Hamlets Interfaith Forum and Council on Mosques, because we recognise that Muslim women in particular feel vulnerable due to the intersectionality. It's not just that they're female, but they're female and Muslim, or female or a woman of colour. So we have increased engagement with Muslim women and work really strongly with the Mariam Centre and East London Mosque. I'm not sure if you saw last week, and this is one of the, since I've been the VAWG lead for the last 16 years, the front page of the London Muslim Centre includes domestic abuse, women's safety and Islam. And it's such a beautiful piece, and hopefully will make a real difference. And they've, not just the Council of Mosques have agreed to incorporate women's safety in public spaces to the domestic abuse sermons that they do on Friday, so reaching thousands. We are really excited. It's like a dream come true for me and my team that the Mayor's committed to a dedicated women's resource centre that will really go a long way in terms of building women feeling safer. The weekly domestic abuse one-stop shop is soon to open, where women can attend and have multiple needs met under one roof. So there'll be solicitor, housing, police, various by and for organisations, and an independent domestic violence advocate, Noor, SheWise, various partners, a solicitor, and hopefully, if that's successful, we'll look to expand that. Ongoing work with marginalised migrant women. We have various gender-based abuse campaigns, and I believe Safia mentioned already, tomorrow is the last day for 16 days of activism against gender-based abuse. And just thank you to some of the partners here who worked on some videos to try and encourage reporting, and there'll be far more to come of those, including in Bangla Comms and Somali media outlets. We were one of the first local authorities, if not the first, to have a VAWG service directory, which lists the range of provision available in the borough for women and perpetrators around VAWG, and that includes women's safety in public spaces. And just another campaign, which is a Transport for London sexual harassment campaign, which we promote. We have a range of training, very extensive training offer. Very fortunate, we have a dedicated VAWG training officer, MOPAC funded. We have a VAWG Champions project for communities and professionals, and that links in with the safety evidence pack where they wanted more community champions. There's targeted training, ensuring that those who may have different language issues or essentially ensuring that all the protected characteristics are catered for. We're also fortunate that we have a dedicated Sylheti speaking staff member who is responsible for working with the Bangladeshi community. We have Somali IDVAs, So yeah, it's not one size fits all with our training offer. We have a sexual harassment and domestic abuse policy internally, and we're kind of working with organisations to ensure they have one too. And we're working with the London Legacy Development Corporation to build women's safety, because we recognise that we can't just shut the borders at Tower Hamlets. We need to work with Hackney and the City of London as well, due to shared parks. Wind up. Okay, right. Yeah, no, yeah, that's fine. Tom and I have discussed the time allocation. Yeah, Tom's got a much shorter one. He's going to do. Yeah, I've got my watch here to hand over to Tom. Yeah. So forget my team. Moving on to the Integrated Enforcement Service. So there's a whole range of FIOs, CCTV. We have Don't Cross the Line campaign that Tom will speak about. We have a dedicated town centre police team in Whitechapel and a new business crime reduction initiative. There is a new Met engagement initiative that work with the enforcement team. The CCTV, this is really exciting. £7 million has been invested into improving CCTV, which will consequently improve feelings of women feeling safer. Phase 2 is due to happen, and it's really impressive. All the CCTV operators have been trained in women's safety, and there's a new antisocial behaviour reporting line launched a few weeks ago, and that was again in the safety evidence pack that they wanted reporting ASB much easier. Yeah, sorry, because I'm rushing, I didn't get to mention everything. But everything's in the slides and you can read the finer detail. But yes, there is.
Yes, the police are.
Yes, yeah, it's in one of the slides. So there's an expansion of the FIO service, increased resources of the FIOs allow for more nighttime shift patterns, increased visibility within the community. The drug squad was launched a couple of weeks ago to tackle 50 of the most prolific street-based drug-related ASB perpetrators. And again, this is in the safety evidence pack. There is reducing visible drug use and dealing through the work that the service are doing. Female FIOs increased. And we are exploring introducing public space protection orders into Hamlets. And we have personal alarms and anti-spiking gadgets. The ASB team, all their officers are trained as WARG champions. They have received specialist training around women's safety in public spaces, not just domestic abuse. They're trained to undertake environmental visual audits. And again, we're really fortunate we have a designing out crime officer that sits within our service. Recommendations have been made for environmental changes like improving lighting, layouts to improve safety. And for complex cases, I mentioned that. We also have regular community engagement events to educate residents on women's safety concerns. They collaborate with the Safer Neighbourhoods team. There's safe reporting channels, clear confidential routes for women to report concerns, and there's lots of different public campaigns they engage with. Moving on to the next service area, parks and open spaces. I won't go into all of detail, but they do tremendous work, Mohammed Raja and his team, in making parks more friendly, more bright, colourful, engaging women to partake in activities. I feel I'm not doing Mohammed justice, but hopefully do read what work the Parks and Open Spaces are doing. In terms of our young people service, they have a Youth Champions project, which includes a youth council. And we work with Queen Mary University, and the young mayor and council are trained too. This is what the London Fire Brigade are doing around women's safety. We have a Tower Hamlets Women's Network that essentially provide a platform around addressing any issues faced by female employees, including concerns around sexual harassment. Highways, so this is really impressive. Tower Hamlets has well above the national British standards for lighting. I will let Cypria talk more about the planning side of things, but things are like CCTV in hotspots, wide footways. Key challenges, there is no resource, as I mentioned. Ensuring intersectional approaches and marginalised groups are underserved. The slow rollout of the national framework, it's not filtering down at a local level. There is difficulty in obtaining measurable outcomes. The £7 million, say, for example, in CCTV investment, it's really hard to put an output as to how has that impacted on women's safety. What more can we do? Resource exploration or public space protection orders, everyone to challenge misogyny, support the training, outreach campaigns, community leaders, counsellors, also become a champion or a male ally, attend our training, and for procurement contracts to include women's safety proposals.
Thanks.
Sorry, that was really long.
No, thank you for rushing through that. Mr. Lewis, do you have one or two comments very quickly?
No, only to say really that from my side of things, I mean, everything's been led really by Manara's team. And if it wasn't for Manara's team, we wouldn't have done any of the stuff that we have done, because our service is really sort of restricted by the legislation that we adhere to. So it's mainly around the licensing side of things. I can go through the slides though, if you'd like me to take those, go through them. So essentially in 2022, we reviewed our licensing policy, which came live in November 23. And what we did is we worked with Manara's team to add bits into it in regards to tackling sexual harassment in the nighttime economy, which we noticed was getting worse sort of towards the end of the pandemic. So we've put an encouragement. I realise it's encouragement, but we're restricted by the legislation and the Home Office guidance on what we can actually enforce in the licensing. So we've been, as much as we can, tried to put in measures in there. So encourage licence holders to sign up to Women's Safety Charter. Place an expectation on licence holders to take a zero tolerance towards acts of sexual harassment within their premises, and to record that or refuse service, put it on their refusals log and report it to the police. We've also said to them if we find issues like this within their premises, if we become aware of them, we would look to take a review of those premises licenses. Encourage applicants to discuss applications with the councils of org teams, that's Manara's team, and encourage licence holders and their staff to attend welfare and vulnerability training, which is WAVE training, which also encompasses Ask for Angela.
Sorry, Mr. Lewis, you'll have to wind up. I'll give you another minute. That's your last minute.
Right, okay. Can you move the slides over? So this is just a flavour of what we've done in the slides there. So we've trained 124 people since July on WAVE training, 61 patrols. We've also got items, we've got activations out that one of them was last week. If you move the slide over, there are the activations, and the wristband you saw on the last slide is something we developed with the City, Hackney and Manara's team, which supports hashtag Don't Cross the Line, which is being relaunched. And we've sent letters out to about 780 licensed premises, advising them of this and looking out to tackle any kind of misogyny going on over the Christmas period. The only other thing to mention, which is the end of my slides, is the box fit classes that was run by the High Streets and Town Centres team. And that's resulted in the leisure services as part of this have agreed to offer these Wednesday classes for free, which you can see on the slides, for council staff only. Any questions on my slides?
Thank you so much. Thank you. Just be assured, please, team, that all of these will be uploaded on online, but also we will take them as appendices. So your work and your presentation has not been lost. I don't know, the team, do you want to? I have a couple of questions. Commissioners, any questions? Yeah.
You spoke about, thank you, both of you, and Tomago, about the leadership role that you guys are doing to really make sure that we have, women's safety and encouragement of our. In terms of, you spoke about public safety and about public safe space, and speaking to loads of women in the borough, people do always say that, but we have a lot of not efficiency in resources. But in terms of our local plan, how has the team, or is it kind of discussions being made about better lighting, friendlier space for women in the parks, so any kind of discussions that we've had, it'd be nice for the ladies here too.
of the prevention measures that I bring to the table, because I can see everything. Sorry. So can you hear me now? So I'm mindful about all the documents and things that you've created there, but it's mainly obviously focused on training our girls. Whilst you say man allies, how much of it is really being upheld? So with the men, how are you thinking about getting them informed? Are you training them? Are you going to them? How are you outreaching to them? Like I really appreciated our DCI saying that you could come and do talks, but it's so important to educate our boys, because whilst I totally appreciate we love our girls and our women, but at the same time, we all need our boys and our men not to be in the process of a system which is
called male allyship or allyship. you know.
exactly.
That.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. You're speaking later, so you can come back.
Okay.
We have 3 comments and questions. If you just want to address it, I don't see you in yourself.
I'll respond if that's all right, and then if you wanted to add. So the first one around gender inclusive design, I think Shree's going to speak on it. There's a lot of extensive work that we've done as part of the local plan work, and even pre that, to look at how we can make public spaces more safe for women. So I'll let Shree answer that if that's all right. It's part of her presentation. In terms of male allyship and what we're doing with men, definitely more needs to be done with men, but there's significant amount of work that we do with men. So Minara can touch on some of that work. From the stuff that she's outlined already, the vast majority, and maybe we can follow this up with some numbers if it's reassuring, of how many male champions do we have, how many, when we carry out workshops, what are the breakdown of men, women, and different characteristics. If it is helpful, we can provide that information. And the third issue was, so you had the planning issue, and then you had what we're doing with men. Anything else? Okay.
No, but in case Cypria is really shy, we were the gender inclusive design report was the first in the country, and other boroughs are very envious of Tower Hamlets. So I'll hand over. And we can provide the male numbers if you wanted. We've got the male numbers.
Okay, wonderful. The actual impact and outcome is still that women and young people, and particularly girls, are not feeling safe. Okay, Mr. Lewis, you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say, from the WAVE training, which is welfare and vulnerability training, I mean, it's an uncomfortable thing to watch as a man with some of the details it discusses in there. We've been training our license holders on this since the end of the pandemic, so partway through the pandemic is 2021, all the way through to now. It's now gone from online training to face-to-face training, initially dealt with by us. Now we contracted out to the police recognised trainer, and it's done through our late night levy funding. So we have been training them. I can't guarantee that what the split is between female and male that attend, but it is all aimed at license holders with the idea that if you train them up on it, they can spot vulnerability, including acts of misogyny within licensed premises, and challenge it.
Just to say that we are talking about public space, right? And if half or more than half of the population are not feeling safe, then we've not got it right. And that's the fundamental, I suppose, platform on which we should stand. The second point is that there are licensed premises and there are licensed parties, which we've had experience in some parts of our boroughs over a decade. And nothing seems to have been done to try and find out how safe it is for all those girls who come for the weekend to our borough. And I think that if we're talking about public spaces, improvement can happen only if we all work together and in partnership, and that's really critical. And resources is one thing, and government resources another. What are we going to do to get some more resources in? So I want to thank you for the 3 presentation. Thank you for your contribution. Please, I hope that you will maybe contribute as we progress. And now may I call on Cypria Sudhakar, Director of Planning and Building Control from Tower Hamlets Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Very happy to be here. And what I want to present today is not just my position as Director of Planning and Building Control, but also incorporating what my lived experience growing up in India and also the last 20 years in the UK and what I bring to my practice. So if you could move the slide. So these are some of the information, and I think Claire's information presented earlier on also kind of drives home the point that the crime levels are what they are, and this challenge is for us collectively how we shape. So as a planner and an architect by training, it's important to recognize that where we live and how we design the cities shapes who we are as people. No matter where we are, whether it's in India or here, that is the fundamental premise. And that's what I kind of bring in my work in policy and design. So if you move on to the next slide, please. So this is just a slide to kind of reflect on that, because if you look at the yellow spot as the home, that is what we are all familiar and safe as a place, right? As a child, when you're born, that is what is your world. And gradually, as we grow older, we begin to take those small steps to go further away from our caregivers. How far we go from our caregivers is very much about how safe we feel in those spaces. And over time, that space expands and the whole world is our oyster, as we say. Now, this is an important concept to have in mind when we talk about public space, is anything outside our familiar home could be that, whether it's your street, whether it's your neighborhood play area to the estate. And this is where I think there is an interaction also between the private realm of our house and then the public realm of our city, and how the stories we tell in the home makes a big difference to how safe we feel the world outside is and how far can we go and thrive in that world. I don't mean necessarily just traveling, but also like positions we hold, the leadership we can do, and the jobs we can do. And the same thing applies is what happens in a city, in a country, or in a borough. For example, the incidences, unfortunate incidences we hear, no matter where they happen, they have an impact in the conversations we have in the houses. So that then further says, don't go there, it's not safe. So how the city and the home interact with each other dictates how our cities are going to shape our own future. So that's an important concept to hold in place, because planning is very long term. And unlike many other things, it's not a direct correlation that we have this policy and in 4 years' time, this is what we've achieved. It's going to shape us over time. So that is something important to bear in mind. If you move next one, please. And the importance of starting from home. And then there was a lot of statistics that we discussed about the domestic abuse and the violence against women that happens right in that four walls. And that is the bit that is a good starting point to begin. While there are so many other things that are external, I am not qualified to talk about this enough, but I think that's an important bit before we start attracting the different levels. So if you move on, please. Next one. Yeah. So sorry, if you go back to the next slide. So this is the piece of work that was undertaken by the team. It was led very, very ably by Jenny Savage. I believe she may have even presented some of that information previously. So this, as Minara said, this is the first in the country to have undertaken this extensive engagement and consultation around how do you, work with gender inclusivity at your core in everything that you do. So this is the report called This is for the Majority, and this has informed and worked as an evidence base for our local plan. Now, I'll talk briefly about that, just mindful of time. So if you move to the next one, please. So we have a specific dedicated policy called Policy PS5, Place Shaping PS5, called Creating Inclusive Places. While we're not saying specifically gender inclusive, it takes a wider lens about inclusivity that takes into account all dimensions and the intersectionality that comes with it. It sits in the core part of People, Places and Spaces section of the local plan. If you move to the next one, please. I'll briefly touch what bits of it would it cover. So it does two things. One, it sets out what type of spaces should we be designing. So what should the quality and the character of those places be? Second thing is, how do you come to that decision? How do you work with people to co-design? So both aspects are equally important. So the first section is about design. So it looks at everything many of you have referred, is there lighting? Is there connectivity there? The local plan. So one of the things to bear in mind is it's not just this policy, but its ability to interlink with others. So one of the key areas, other parts of the local plan picks up is delivering community facilities, how important they are in having those local markers when you walk on the street into your neighborhood, etc. So there are a number of strands here, how the development feels safe, every part of the development, not just your home, and then looks at the inclusion of public art, and the naming of streets matter, because when you see women's name, people from different races being recognized in the street names to things, it tells a bit about the history of your community. So it's everything wider in the lens. In terms of co-design itself, how do you know? And one of the things to bear in mind is not everything is done by the council, but it's how you set the regulatory framework so developers who are shaping those schemes deliver what we want them to. And this is where how you design matter about co-design and working, how you demonstrate that you really know the place and the people for whom you're designing. So this is something very important. We are very proud that we are able to reflect the needs of everyone around the room in the plan. In terms of where this is, it's got the full council approval for it to be submitted for examination in public. That will be submitted in January. We will then go through a few months where there'll be an examination of each and every policy by an independent examiner. And after that, we'll be able to adopt our plan. Once it's adopted, this becomes the norm for how we regulate development. From the time the full council has given the permission for it to be submitted, it starts to gain more weight. So it's not like we're waiting for this plan to be adopted. We're already giving a lot of thought to this. So if you could do the next one. So this is one of the things I also want to talk about very briefly is it's not just the policies that are going to get us where we want to go. It's also about what we do as practitioners, as council employees and others. So very quickly, in terms of planning practice, when you're doing policy and things, it is about places. Who lives them is not something that we control. We provide a space for people to come together. This is where others in the room play an important role in terms of, are we making sure that there are other safe practices in place? So street lighting to safety, etc. One of the capacities we have as a council is, as a large organization, we have different services doing different things. So for example, Tom, Minora, and others, when we are engaging with the planning application, we know that there is an intelligence which we gather about, oh, that space isn't great for that. We can then say to the developer and say, can you make sure that you pick up these issues? So that bit is something we have as intelligence. We always carry out site visits. So when an application comes in, we as officers are fully aware of being on site, and we know having more women in the practice also means we know what it feels like to live in that place if it's delivered. It's a very democratic process. So when an application is taken to committee, we expect that women and other wider public will come to say what is the problem that this development is either addressing or not addressing. So that practice is there. As practitioners, we have over 50% in the planning department are women. That makes a difference because who is designing it and what intelligence you have and your lived experience matters. So that is another thing that we are always also expanding and going to schools and universities and saying, this is an important built environment sector for people to be part of. Obviously, our lived experience come with us like our shadow, so we cannot leave that behind when we enter our office. So that is hugely valuable. And having so many of our council staff from the borough, also it matters. And then finally, this is what about the knowing the borough. Finally, on the leadership, safety, health, employment, all of these aspects have an impact from planning because the contributions we secure through planning, whether it is for safety, public health, they have a huge role to play in terms of how they use the Section 106 funding to help improve the outcomes, and they're constantly looking for ways. The last one slide, please. This is the last slide. I just want to conclude that, I left India in 2003 for studies and I stayed over to work. When I left and the first day walking in London, I distinctly remember the freedom I felt that I could go home on my own after 10 o'clock. And that is not something one can take for granted anywhere. And it's a reminder that it's a freedom that we should all hold on to and do more of. And that is something that I'm very keen in my role to continue to do and working with you all. Thank you.
Excellent presentation. And appreciate your perspectives more deeply than you know. I was quite a number of a handful of women were involved in 1980s in designing the Women's Centre on Whitechapel Road, which is lost to the public services now. So I'm not mentioning the names, but we did a study around the area of Whitechapel and Brick Lane about the creative nature of which planning and not just services, but the safety issue. And sad that nothing has changed and you're having to do the same thing. But anyway, you're right. 83% as opposed to 90%, 50% is a significant factor. But nevertheless, the world is constantly going through different challenges. So that impacts women on our streets. It is worth just us pointing out. We are going to have a 10 minutes break. But before that, any of the committee members, commissioners want to make any point? No? Councillor Tala, you want to say something?
Sorry, Chair, just very quickly, whilst we're talking about percentages, I thought I'd just share, we've recently been briefed on the annual resident survey. And I think it's an important point to make that compared to the previous year, women feeling safe during the day has increased and women feeling safe after dark has also increased. It's not to where we want it to be. So currently 64% of women are saying that they feel safe after dark. However, it has increased considerably. What they say significant is anything above 7 percentage points or something. So it's increased considerably, but we are working to make sure that women feel safer. I thought I'd just mention that because we were talking about percentages and stuff.
But I do want to exercise the point that women continue to say that they're not in pockets of estates, on public places where you've got sports, and on the streets, particularly young girls are experiencing sexual violence and assaults. Whether they report it or not, it's a different matter, of course. Sophia, the floor is yours.
In just a recent experience that I had, I was chairing a meeting in a public place in Docklands, and the experience that I had there, where we had to stop the public meeting because far-right extremists came into this public church, was quite worrying. And in the streets of Docklands, I know the police were dealing with it after, but I think there's a factor that we need to be mindful of, that being women is a challenge, being ethnic minority is a huge challenge, having the hijab is a challenge, being Black, Somali, migrant is a challenge. And I think putting all those things together as women, it's extremely hard. But to have that in the borough, and I love the way that you said your home, the street, and if you feel safe in those places, then the world is your oyster.
Yeah.
But if you're limited because the experience that we've had, and remember, there's a lot of trauma that a lot of us that grew up in Tower Hamlets have from what we experienced in our childhood of, racism being normal. And now that coming back, where we were talking today, where leaders are saying things that are absolutely shocking. It's quite scary time for all communities, but definitely I think ethnic minority Muslim women, there's an additional layer there.
I don't think we have the experience of student union, university students or the schools. And that's why we went, especially to organize a consultation or discussion with students. I would actually answer you in this way, and that's not having spoken to anyone of the team, but I think in the new year sometime because we're going to start looking at finalizing our work, perhaps we can go to organize something. Few of us will come, we'll record what's being said, and we will run a proper workshop if it's possible. If not, just have a conversation at least. So that's on offer. Okay. Thank you. Will you stay for a bit and listen? Okay, welcome. Thank you.
Just to say that one of the commissioners is a Queen Mary employee, Kathleen, and so she's very connected. And the whole idea of the commissioners, they go back to their sites where they're based and they ensure that. So I think she's definitely been active in that, but I think there is something about connecting you to her. So there's one voice coming from Queen Mary's University.
Okay, relax, ladies. To order, please. Let's go. Come. Honorable ladies, come and join us. Come around the table if quite a number of people have left us. And Sophia is because she really feels very jet lagged. So hope you don't mind. So there you go. I've said so 3 times, I think, already. So can I now ask, we're going to begin with Yasmin Lalani, the Metropolitan Police Detective Chief Inspector. We welcome you, and we welcome you in saying that throughout the process of us being here, we have mentioned, particularly when it was on employment, you should be assured that we were all encouraging our women to join the police force. I'm not going to say anything about the response, but I hope that there is some change, and I'm looking forward to hearing you. Thank you.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
I will make it short because I know that I've been talking quite a bit, this evening. That's fine. But yes, it will be wonderful if you actually get people to join. Come and see me, come and have a chat with me. I'm happy to mentor anybody. Yeah. Please do. Age is not a limit, so it isn't. So do not worry at all. I joined when I was 35. The actual police, and I did police staff before then, the civil side. But anyway, we've actually made quite a lot of progress around the violence against women and girls. But I think, as you can appreciate, we will not be able to make, a difference on our own. We need to work together with yourselves, with the community, with partners, with everybody really, to make that difference. I mean, on the slides, it's got all the bits about what we're doing around the 16 days. I'm not going to go through that because I think what we really need to spend this time doing is for me to say to you, for example, you asked about the court process. I work really closely with the Crown Prosecution Service. Verinder Hare is a district Crown prosecutor who works out of Thames Magistrates and Highbury Court, and together we have prosecuted a lot of people. We work together. So what I'd like to offer, here in this meeting is that if you need a guide to show you how we deal with people from beginning to the end, including a visit to the court, to see how the court system works, to see how we work with people, we're more than happy to deliver that to you. Just be reassured, I'm happy to put that out to you so we can have another session, maybe an hour or so, whenever you want to, and I can invite Verinder, and then I can talk to you from how it goes from the court, like from the crime, to how we build the case file, to how we go to the Crown Prosecution Service. Then she can take it forward, and then she can show you how that works at court to alleviate your worry. It can cover anything that you want. We can go through that with you. So you can say to me, how does it work for domestic abuse? We can do that for you. If you want to know other things, we can talk about that. And also, yeah. I'm really surprised at that. And if it's happening in my unit, then I'll be really disappointed. Yeah, but if you tell me, like when we have those chats, and I think it's really important that we do have these sessions, really important. And if you say to me, look, I phoned on this day or somebody phoned and this is what we got, it's unacceptable. Yeah, I am leaving after this, but I will give you my email address and please do email me. Okay.
We'll bring you in a minute. Let the detective finish her presentation. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So basically the presentation was what we've done over the 16 days, but I think Minara and the team have covered all that. So it's just a repetition because Minara and I work quite closely together on the violence against women. So what I don't want to do is just repeat most of that. So I wanted to concentrate on the court processes, which is what people have brought up. Then I think we spoke about males, you know, and educating men on how they can support the women, not only in their families, but who they work with, who they come across with. You know, they probably work outside, so it could be in their businesses, in employment. It's just about joined up working. It's about saying to them, you need to support us so that we can get ahead. You know, this is 2025 coming into 2026. I think it's really all about sharing things, even housework. And I know we're going to laugh about this, but at the end of the day, it is about sharing tasks, isn't it? You know, we've, you know, got children, they're going to grow up. What do we want them to learn? Domestic abuse is not okay. Sexual abuse is not okay. Child abuse is not okay. Being frightened to walk outside is not okay. So we need to work together, you know, with everybody. And is it Dia from the Q? All right. So I was actually a student at your university 40 years ago. I studied microbiology at Queen Mary College, and then I ended up in the police. Yeah, so I'd like to offer, if you need my help, I'm more than happy to come back into my old uni and help the Students' Union. I was actually the secretary of the Students' Union at the time as well. Yeah, so I'm happy, and I'll leave you my email address as well. So if you want, I'm happy to come over and speak to them. So I've got a lot of attachment to Tower Hamlets. You know, when I bought my first house, it was in the Docklands as well. So as I was growing up and stuff, so it's all very dear and close to my heart with what, you know, we do. But I'm happy to take any questions because I know people are doing presentations, but I'm happy to help with anything that you want to talk about or any questions that you've got.
Thank you very much. I hope in maybe cover some aspects of your own personal analysis as a a police officer. Of course, you're in management now, but your assessment of safety in public spaces, you know, from your perspective. If you could just give it some thoughts, and then I bring this wonderful young lady in. You had a question. Do you have a question?
Yeah.
Having to report, how easy it is to report, to be advertised widely. I think perhaps like for us growing up, we knew 999 was the number. There should be another one that's called anonymous calls.
Yeah, so you've got so you've got 999 for emergency, and then you've got the 101, which is non-emergency number. There's also online reporting, and there's also Crime Stoppers, which is anonymous reporting. And I think there should be a Street Safe app as well, which is anonymous. And also you can come into the police station and report there in the station office. Yeah. Yeah.
Flyer or something that we can advertise in bus stops and train stations, places like that.
So I think the Met's got it, hasn't it? I think the Met do have it at the train stations and other places.
Or sexual.
Yeah.
Sexual
Yeah.
Harassment.
Yeah.
Signals by the opposite person.
Right. Yeah.
They couldn't report it. They didn't know what to do.
Right.
At that moment.
Right.
Later on, later that they come to us. And
Right.
commission. This is where I'm thinking that.
Thank you.
Okay.
needs to be
Well, I will
immediate
take,
action that
okay.
we take.
Okay. Thank you. That's a really good point. And what I'll do is I'll take it to my news desk, which is our press bureau at Scotland Yard, and I'll sort of try and get that across to them and see how we, you know,
you.
make sure that that's advertised.
Yeah.
better.
I just want to draw your attention, Detective Inspector,
It's
also,
Yasmin, call me Yasmin.
okay. Miss Leilani, how about that? Okay.
Go on.
Just for the purpose of the meeting, I'm very grateful for you being here. The young women students had also mentioned about harassment, and they were not sure what to do with it. So maybe a a re-awareness campaign, because I know you have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just for the borough, I think would be
Yeah,
really
I think I'll
welcome.
do that. Definitely, I'll
Take
take
that
that
back.
away.
Thank you.
As part of my action from this meeting.
Thank
But
you.
also what I'm saying is, if it's there and it's happening, then call 999. Please do not worry, just call us. Yeah?
I think it's empowering young people to think that this is wrong. It's not what should happen to them, because
This is
the-
wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
But
That-
if you phone,
yeah.
we can get there. And if you're reporting it, then we've got CCTV. From the bus, we can get, all the Oyster card recordings and stuff and everything. There's a lot of things we can do. So please pick up the phone and report it. Yeah?
Yes, please. Yes, your question.
So we have that. So we have training days for all our officers. We also have the he for she and all those programs that we've got, and we've got male mentors who actually support women and are part of this violence against women group.
Okay.
Really, like really positive stuff that we have across the Met.
And just something that, based on personal experience, and other friends, I think the concern a lot with, reporting and such is, the two main things have been response time and, the other being, resources.
Yeah.
So it's, just something I didn't know. This is pre-pandemic, I don't know how it is. If you report a crime and you want them to check CCTVs, I think you had to be able to narrow it down to 7 minutes or something like that. Like, if I said this happened between this 12:30 and 1 a.m., they were like, we're not gonna check the whole half an hour. We're only gonna check it specific. So just things like that.
I don't think so. I think that's inaccurate. Yeah.
You could just ask your question, and then
Yeah, that's
Ms. Leilani will come back.
Oh no, so if you say that this incident has happened between this time and whatever, we're not just going to look at that, because it could be that you might not have got the right time. So
I think
we
the
are.
resources thing, like, maybe not.
Oh no, every call is important. Every call is important, very important.
The response time.
The response times, you have the immediate call is within 10 minutes. It used to be 12, I think it's 10 now. And, or is it 15? 12 to 15. And then we've got the other grades as well. But we're out there. You call us, we're there.
Thank you.
We will get to you. And if we don't get that person who's assaulted you, we will get them. We don't give up, that I can tell you. Each and every one of my officers who works in Tower Hamlets is really passionate and dedicated about bringing perpetrators to justice. And if you work in my department, then you'll know that I work 24/7 as well, 7 days a week. People are in. At Tower Hamlets, the domestic abuse positive outcome charge rate is the best out of all the boroughs in the Metropolitan Police. It's at 16.6%.
Again,
They're getting
I
charged.
would say that there are inconsistencies to what maybe we have learned from you and other officers to how the women views. and it's not in Tower Hamlet. There's a issue of confidence in the police force, as you know, Anjali, on your report is fresh in my mind and my ears. So I was just thinking that there are issues and that we can always do more. The same about Tower Hamlet, the same about any services. So I've got two more very brief questions. Did you want to ask something, Dia? Yes, so Dia, and then I'm coming to you. Yes.
You can report it at any time you feel is the right time. Yeah, and we will do our best. Obviously, the sooner you report it, the better it is for the forensics and everything else. Because some CCTV's only valid for 7 days, some's there for 24 hours, some's there for 28 days. So I'm looking at the other evidential stuff, you know, like forensics in serious sexual assaults. It's very, you know, within 24, 36 hours, we need it. But if we don't have that, but we may have other things like phone work, CCTV, witnesses, there'll be other things. So whatever you feel comfortable, but we also have independent, you know, like for the DA, domestic violence advocates, we have independent serious violence advocates for serious sexual assaults. So the victims can speak to them and get their confidence from them as well.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Dia, I think there's a, you know, a window of opportunity with Ms. Lalani to maybe fix something for your members. Last question.
But you haven't met me, have you? Good. So, yeah.
I just finished delivering Underbelly Day, an anti-racist event in Underbelly Park and in the Wade Centre. Later on, I found out that this gentleman did get caught and some lady put it online on Instagram. I still haven't reported it, by the way, because I just was like, and then I saw her and then I was like, should I report it? And then it happened to 2 other people. But my instinct, unfortunately, I don't trust the police. And it's got nothing to do with you. It's not personal. This is an institutional problem that you have to overcome. And I don't know what the language is, but my first reaction is, I don't trust you. I trusted the police up to probably about age of 8, and then something shifted. Probably because the police officer said to me, I'm going to nick you for something. He was racist. So I'm going to nick you for something, whatever it is. And from that day, I was like, I can't go to you. That's the language. And so it's a bigger issue of not just a Mexican police school stuff. So help us to come to you and say we're there for you, because I think language, you're just like any other service within the country. You're under-resourced. There's not enough money. You want the intention to this help. You've said time and time again, my doors open. You're not going to hear that.
But I will come to you. You know, I'm not saying you come to me. I'm happy to come to you with my team, and we start doing these groups and sessions and everything so that we can work together as people from Tower Hamlets.
I have a suggestion. Sorry.
But we will do slowly.
Thank you. I don't know whether you want to speak to Ms. Lalani afterwards about the specific incidents, but there are trust issues with if I'm not saying for me, but say I have 4 sons and 1 daughter, and I have 4 sons who've been targeted by the police force over 30, 40 years or whatever it is, then that family is not going to breed confidence in and I don't mean breed, I mean breathe confidence into the girl to say that her issues are safe. But we want to continue to work together, and I'm really glad that you came. I was really insistent that we have to have senior police officers to this inquiry, and we hear your voice because you want to be there. You are our service. You are there to protect and guide and implement law. And that's also for the officers. And I know that many officers haven't, ground themselves with glory by any means, but that is not every police officer, right? So I think that's important for us to remember. I want to say thank you. And there are quite a number of groups, and maybe the center, the Women's Center, can organize a safety day with you and your other officers, because you don't want to be the sole focus of delivery and partnership. So thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And please do invite us. We will.
Yes.
We will come.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. And I'm sure everyone's here listening. The other, so that we're on to the next bit of our agenda. And let me just do that. Okay. And it is my pleasure to invite Minara Uddin Meghna, the Vice Chairperson is of Network, Newark Youth Organization. Where are you? There you are. Go for it. Time is yours now. 5 minutes. Mike, thank you.
Voice was loud. Hello. Yes.
Yes. Great.
Great. Fantastic. So today I will be sort of sharing insights and recommendations and some of the work that we've done at Newark Youth London with young people and girls. So yes, next slide, please. So as we know, many of us can relate to the feeling of unease or fear when walking alone in public spaces, and whether it's a park, a street, a canal side. Street harassment, sexual harassment, hate crimes, physical violence are just a few of the examples in many ways that women and girls' safety is compromised every single day. The freedom to access spaces, public spaces equally, is not as straightforward because of different reasons. And most recently, when you're hearing what's being shared on the news and, social media, it is very scary. And we found when we have been talking to groups of young people, groups of girls, even adults and women's groups, they're saying the same thing. They do feel afraid and scared to be out in public spaces. Although confident in groups, but even myself, I seem confident. Everyone's saying you're confident, but the fear as a result of far-right activists, activities and racism, and you hear about the Islamophobia, rise, and being a woman of color, it is scary. So I'm told to change my behavior, and I have changed my behavior. Don't go the shortcuts, don't go this. So it's always the onus is on women and girls to change our behaviors, the way we dress, the way we route or anything, or come home early, so on and so forth. Yeah. Next slide, please. So during some of our group discussions with young people, especially girls from the age of 11 to 19 and boys as well, we discussed some statistics which were quite important, and then obviously discussing that surveys that have taken place where the statistics speak for itself. 68% of ages of young women feel unsafe on the streets, and then prevalence of harassment. This survey taken by the UN Women. It's important for group discussions. We do have statistics, and that young people and the community understand. Now, going on to the next slide, we can't forget, we always need to remember, especially the high-profile cases, as I'll just name a few, Sarah Everard, Sabina Nessa, not that long ago. Only the last couple of years these incidents happen. All these women and all these young women were either going home, walking home, either traveling home or walking through their normal route through the park, and they were attacked. Biba, Henry and Nicole Small, they were enjoying park in a park space. They were celebrating their birthday. Amy Gray was sitting on a beach. So it just makes you feel, I'm hesitant. That's what young girls were saying. We don't want to go running. We don't want to go jogging unless we're in a group. We won't go walking. So that fear's instilled further. And then we think, what would make you feel safer? What will make you feel safe? And what more can you do about it? And I just want to quickly also mention a global case in India, Dr. Momita, who was murdered, brutally raped and murdered while she was resting from her shift. She's a doctor. So, you know, those kind of things, when you say, where are we safe? We're not safe in our homes. We're not safe in public spaces. Yeah. So now some of the initiatives that we've taken, we've done that are ongoing at Newark Youth London. So we have a women's walking club, which is we get women together and promote safe routes. And so like this could be the canal sides, parkways, because everyone wants to enjoy a walk in nature, on the streets, you know, just safely, not feel that fear, than living in fear, oh, I can't if I'm on my own. So these, and also it's had women who have engaged in the activities and feel safe enough to speak about certain experiences they've had where they wouldn't share and they wouldn't go to the police and they wouldn't report. So, and we encourage this. We have boxing sessions for women, for girls who, to empower them, to build their confidence. So yes, borough-wide. So young people can attend the sessions, they can access the sessions. The girls' boxing sessions have been really successful. We have a female coach and we have a male coach as well. So we have the boys and the girls. And self-defense, stay alert around your surroundings, how they can be involved in social action, how they can bring about change in their community wider. The Blossom Project was recently started after consultation with groups of women, different ages, from 18 to 40s and 50s. So yes, and talk about their experiences and what they would like to see, as you can see. And now the key, which I would like to highlight, is the youth clubs, the workshops that we've been doing with boys. So we have been doing a lot of workshops around Vogue, around hate crime, and the key element is about educating boys about respectful relationship towards women and girls and create a culture of respect. And we have been using some resources that the Home Office, like the Enough campaign, which is fantastic. The video is so informative, and you know, and they've taken it well. And speaking to them and sitting down with them, and how would they feel if it was their mother, grandmother or not? So yeah, that respect element is so important. Early intervention from home to, you know, spaces in schools and so forth. Yes. Yes, I have the recommend. And I just quickly want to, yeah, the outcomes of chat, obviously, these are some of the projects, activities that I've just mentioned that we've done. We can go on the next slide. Barriers and challenges, I think just echoing what everyone's said here, for example, intersectional identities, racism, Islamophobia, xenophobia. Yes. And this, I would like to share. The findings are not conclusive yet. We will be finalizing and happy to share the findings in January. The girls created this and we're so proud of them, the Girls for Change. So I can share a link. So happy for everyone to participate, for all girls and women to participate. Thank you. And yes, the recommendations, I think everyone assess the streets, improve lighting, emergency response. So some of our conversations have why are there not some panic buttons? Because by the time police response or someone calls emergency, the police might not get to you and I'll be attacked. And that's what women and girls were saying in the public spaces. Designated safety zones. So this is a borough-wide where all businesses, sort of like the Ask for Angela campaign, where that businesses can get involved. At least I can run to a business, or, you know, I can go and access and have a safe space.
Like a sticker or something saying this is a safe place.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I know, and education awareness, inclusive design, everyone's spoken in the previous presentations, and funding for community projects. So there's an initiative, M.Power, that works with women closely, victims and survivors. And bystander training is one that's come up a lot in our conversations. Educate the community to intervene safely. Obviously, not everyone wants to intervene, but people are quick to get their cameras out and make it go viral. so on and so forth. And yes, call to action, safety is a shared responsibility, working together. It's a whole community. And yeah, create a culture where women and girls can thrive and not feel, not live in fear. Yes, and women's safety is everyone's responsibility. Thank you.
So sorry, please forgive me for rushing.
Thank
You with all this work, important work that you've done, and you want to highlight them. Just to tell you that you're echoing all the young people that we were speaking to. I think it's really important. So thank you. We'll take that on board. I think Tower Hamlet Council itself maybe should have a safety part of the website, for women. Commission has safety, and these are some of the live things that that we should list of concerns, and any suggestions we should take maybe towards our report, because we haven't been able to speak to lots of women that we would have liked to, but you have represented them.
Yes.
So very grateful.
Thank you.
Who's here beside me? Do you have a question? No. Okay, thank you.
So I'm Shahina Chowdhury, representing Women's Voice, which is a title for international women and women and girls in public spaces that need to be safe in those spaces. Whilst I acknowledge all the things that have been repeated throughout the room, I was just saying I won't go through each individual slide because it's important to acknowledge that I focus on prevention, and I've been hearing throughout the room that what we can do, what the women need to do, and what the women do, like the lights and the streets and the architectural things that Sri Priya have highlighted. But one of the most nicest things I heard from you is home is the starting point. So I've been campaigning for hubs that will actually look into prevention measures, and those prevention measures should work on all of our family as a whole, holistically, so that we don't find one gender stereotyping that this gender is at risk more than the other gender. Whilst we appreciate there's more of the women and girls feeling unsafe in public spaces, which is a reality and a fact. But how do we overcome those issues? We have to tackle the grassroots issues. And by that, I mean, educate our boys and men. Those are the very people they get attacked by, right? So how do we approach that? We have to go into mosques. We have to approach where they get the training. We have to understand the underlying issues. So, for example, if you just go through the slides a bit so that people can see the Everard picture, I've listed a lot of things that we have to take into consideration when we're in public spaces. I've recommended measures to take and the authorities what they need to do. I've highlighted the kind of unity the whole society needs to come together and do. And this is what I say. Bring in a hub, educate our boys. Those are the very people that get thrown into the system. The prisons are overhauled and we don't need our families broken. And in order to get that, we need to recognize the grassroots issues, why these boys are coming out and committing these crimes. We have to educate our boys to prevent them from doing it in the first place. For example, mental health is an issue that I tackle. I'm part of the Warwick University, and then I actually was part of their research team, and we did a workshop in London, and in Birmingham I attended one, and we highlighted facts like how to tackle mental health that people don't treat or they think of stigma. So these mental health issues within the boys and men create the vicious cycle that makes them feel that they have to do certain things sexually, or when they're feeling down, they end up going into streets and things happen out of their control, or they start premeditating, going into pornography. We have to recognize how to help those boys in those needs. And part of our outreach would be work through the mosques and public spaces, and all the councils and police force should concentrate on prevention measures rather than just sit here and think about how we women should do things to prevent ourselves being in a situation where we'll be attacked and raped and whatever. The Commission needs to also see the reasons why, I mean, the things that we do as a prevention measure as women, how we can stop doing those prevention measures and make it better for us. Obviously, the points that you've made are very crucial, Sripriya, about the, agricultural part, the way you design a building and the area, and you talked about the home all the way to the city. And I would say that internationally we have to think about it, because cross-border issues such as boys that come from back home that come here and groom young women allegedly or get caught grooming them, why are they doing it? Because there's peer pressure. I mean, there are family pressures where their family have sold lands for them to come here, and they feel like if they can get married to a woman here, they'll settle and then they'll be able to stay over here. But the only way they can think of getting a woman is on social media or something. Those boys need to be trained in Bangladesh before they come here, so that we can stop that kind of thing happening. These are just examples what I'm saying. You need to really think about how we can prevent stuff. You cannot say go and report it on its own. If you say go and report it, you have to think about how the prevention work will be better than reporting it. Putting our girls in that situation in the first place isn't a good thing. More money needs to be invested in prevention measures rather than crisis. And that's where my hub comes in. And I've been praying and doing vigils and going into Sadiq Khan's office, the MPs meetings. And I mean, I've gone everywhere as far as I'm concerned. For the last 5 years, I've talked to community centres which are full of these representatives of girls. These girls were specifically invited by me. I noticed none of them had the invite. None of them knew this meeting was happening. Like I hear there's cycles of these rates of that and that rate of this, and then there was meetings. But how were these meetings conducted? Who were called into the meetings? Who were looking for transparencies, check and balance, and who are feeding back in these communities? Are you talking to the victims and survivors? Are you talking to the boys that feel stuck in a situation where they feel like they have to look at pornography? Real attackers. You need to look into all those things to be able to prevent the measures happening. Yes, and I'm very grateful to whoever invited me here. I'm very grateful to Claire. She knows how unwell I was, and she had to work in close schedule with me to get this print. I would hope someone looks at this. This is a universal, generic thing that everyone must get together and concentrate on prevention, because we will give birth to our sons, and we don't want our sons caught up in this system, and our husbands to be caught up in this system where they have to go through the courts and end up getting prison sentences. And prison doesn't need more of offenders, and the police are already overhauled. Police, I wanted to talk to this lady. She's already gone, the DCI. And my point of coming here was to highlight to her, yes, it's nice that she said, invite me. Yes, I will invite her. But she needs to understand it's not report it. This is not the solution. Prevention is the solution, and money needs to be invested. And the commissioners need to invite young adults, young victims, young survivors, all who I've also worked with. I can conduct these meetings with you to help you out. And I'm really sad that there were so many meetings happening that I wasn't a part of. And I've got so much information to share.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Shaina, for your work. I know how hard and dedicated.
I talk from my heart.
I know you do, and how dedicated you are, and we're really pleased to hear your reflections. And first of all your hard work will be attached as and printed maybe on the website. So that's please be assured. With regards to not advertising more widely, I think that as commissioners, because we reflect all different parts of our communities, I think we've done the best we could to ensure that through the Tower Hamlet Council, because it's a Tower Hamlet Council appointed and organized Women's Commission. Therefore, Tower Hamlet Commission, I'm coming to you. Tower Hamlet has made enormous amount of efforts to make sure that women are informed, women's organizations are informed, and it regularly publishes things. I know that there are not any, maybe not enough, and the small number of women we surveyed, maybe not reflective, but by all account, all the different public meetings seems to reflect other people, because I can't get to all meetings, but I know that there are somebody else, maybe you, who you can represent the kind of thinking that I would want to discuss. So I think we have to rely on each other. So maybe the 400, 300 women represent 30,000 women's voices in these reviews. That's how we have to look at it. I don't know, Claire, you want to address any of the points that?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just to say, in terms of the comms strategy within the council, the comms for all of our formal public reviews were put on all of the council's website, social media pages, and also on screens in doctor surgeries, in the council buildings, in our leisure services. So it was widely promoted in that sense. We also attended community stalls to promote the formal public reviews as well. And in terms of our community workshops and our survey, we did in a similar way for both of those, but a difference was that we partnered with local organizations. So for safety specifically, we partnered with the Women's Inclusive Team and Solace, and we pushed our comms through those networks to recruit women to come and speak with us in our community workshops. But we also relied on our internal networks as well. So we spoke with our Women's Commission Steering Group, which holds individuals across the council with a specific interest within their work on women's safety, and they provided comms internally through their networks as well.
Councillors.
Yeah, we spoke with the councillors, and we also have an equalities hub, and comms was pushed through that those channels as well. So it was a major part of our strategy, and I can only apologise that it didn't land kind of on your door and on the women that have come here today as well.
These women that represent the groups, they have hundreds of women they have access to, and believe me, word gets out when it gets to their hands. And these are the women living in Tower Hamlets who are facing those issues or who want a prevention measure. And you can see public spaces that it doesn't matter how careful you are. Like when the woman Yasmin, she went away from her perpetrator, she still had got murdered because he found out where that person was. So these women have a lot of insight into the issues of these public spaces and protecting our girls, but at the same time, the prevention measures, which I say, and collaboratively,
Can I ask you?
we can achieve a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm really humbled. I'm here today. Like Anne Frank says, it's never too late. Whatever's happened has happened, but in the future, hopefully, we can do it together.
No, it's very important. I think your voice is very important, but others as well. If you could get them, if there are things that you want more to be said beside what you've said today, please talk to us and then write to us, phone us, and we'll listen to.
See, there's
I'm sorry.
language barriers with these girls as well, so they find it very difficult to write.
আপনার মাঝে অনেক বাঙালি আছে, যদি আপনার বাঙালি ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজের যদি দরকার হয়, প্লিজ আপনারা কোনো চিন্তা করবেন না। আমি পার্সোনালি আপনারে এসিউরেন্স দিলাম যে আপনারা যদি কেউ মাত্তা চাইন নানি, আপনারা মুসলিমার লগেও ইয়া মাত্তা পারবা, তাই বাংলা মাত্তা হয়, আমিও মাতি। আমরা টিমে আরো আছে সোমালিয়ান, তারপরে আমরা what language do you speak? Say to everyone. Japanese, and we have Arabic speakers, and so we have a good range of people, women who can speak to you. ঠিক আছে নি, আপনারা যদি কোনো দরকার হয় প্লিজ আপনারা ইয়া নাইনি, আমরা লগে একটু যোগাযোগ করবা। আমরা টাইম আছে এখনো, মাসখানেক এখনো আছে, আমরা শেষ করছি না রিপোর্ট। Okay, so let us know.
I'll
Yes.
just say one more point. It's better instead of them approaching you, because obviously they don't have the strength to do that sometimes. Confidence and language plays a part. Maybe you can call them into meetings. That will be more appropriate, because then they will feel they're coming as a team and they have each other's support and they can bring it to you.
You have come today, so I want to welcome you.
I
Thank you for that.
actually created a WhatsApp group and I
Okay.
notified them. I checked on them to see if they've got the link. Then I had to make sure they've actually signed up. Then
Thank
I
you.
even did it for them.
Thank
And then I
you.
had to replace the ones that weren't coming to make sure the seats weren't wasted.
I appreciate
It was
you.
very important to do that.
Thank you. Yes, please. You have.
In terms of, you said solace and women inclusive, but Ruth Wellness, she's a large number of applications. None of us have been taken We have Barts NHS, we have Queen Mary that comes and does research with our project, Seven of Our Lady. Campus Council, as I said, I've come so often, so many meetings, not only this one, interfaith meetings, I'm a part of the interfaith forum. I also go to different parliament events where I represent the community, especially the Bangladeshi Muslims. Talk about safety of time, in terms of prevention, violence against women and children, girls, as well as just generally the AI, I want to say for them. So I do those things, but I find that Campus Council seems to, every time I want to come close to them, they seem to push us away. So we're not getting those calls that we would like to, like what she said. These women, we have links with them as well. Do you see? There is a large number of women. We feel that we are pushed aside.
So you have come to some of our meetings, we've seen them. So why have you not been, were you not welcome to bring other women? Okay, okay. Okay. Yeah, okay.
I don't think none of us would
Okay. Okay.
You said
Because it was closed, I think earlier on.
It wasn't, so
Yeah.
every community workshop was open to all women in the borough. We partnered with 2 organisations per theme, just in terms of our internal capacity as a team. We're quite a small policy team. We had to run the community workshops over a short period of time. And those 2 organisations that we've worked with on safety came about from the steering group meetings that we've been having with our internal policy leads on the topic. And that is how that conversation came about. In terms of attendees, anyone is welcome. Although it's partnered with a specific local organisation, they promote it through their networks, but we also promote those community workshops through our networks as well and ensure that it is open to everyone. But the point around not specifically engaging with your organisation, it would be useful to have a conversation afterwards, and I can give you my email address and then you have a direct link to the Women's Commission policy team. We are looking to potentially hold additional ones with Queen Mary University, so the conversation is still open, it's not closed, and it would be good to kind of link up. And I can only apologise that that's your experience with the council as a whole, but we wouldn't want that to continue.
But anyway, we can learn, right? This is the process that we can learn. And I hope that you will just send us, I'm going to hold on to this just for a minute. If you could send us the more details, then we'll pick that up. I know that we were considering one for Bromley by Bow area because we didn't. So we didn't see any of the organization coming. So we have picked up specific themes. So if you see that you're working with Bromley by Bow women and you want to make sure that Claire and Muslima know, we will invite them and we will welcome you. Yes, sorry. Okay, she's coming. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Women. Community organization.
Yeah, so for safety, it was Women's Inclusive Team and Solace. Yeah, account 3, they were for that. So we worked with 2 per theme. So for safety, it was just specifically those 2 organizations. Samir, I don't know if you can bring back the slide with it on.
Okay, hang on. Yeah.
I can see quickly, before that gets forgotten, I can see why you've invited crisis, like the NGOs who are Solace and Inclusive, but these are raw preventative measures. They work on preventing stuff.
That's fine.
So it'll be really good to get them involved.
We are acknowledging your conversation, and if there are any shortfalls in that, we want to hear you. There are how many thousands women in the borough? Can you just?
Just to say before,
Okay, no,
bring that
if you
stat up.
could just tell me how many thousands of women in the borough? So well, half the population of the borough are women, okay? So they're not reflected in this work. It's impossible. I just want to tell you that we've been saying it from the outset, but that does not mean that we do not want to take the work that's happening. I mean, Somali women, Bangladeshi women, Japanese women, Chinese, Vietnamese women, Moroccan women, all of these women are not reflected on a regular basis when we are seeing everyone. But we believe very passionately that if I speak for someone on behalf of, say, the issue of safety or exclusion, I'm hoping that I'm reflecting the voices of all women. And similarly, I'm not talking about myself, I'm just giving an example. So every woman that comes and talking today, I will accept your voice as the authentic voices of what you have just represented. So similarly, we will accord the same respect to all the others who have come here as the authentic voices for themselves, given that we cannot invite everyone. So I just want you to understand our sincerity about that. Sorry. Yeah. So you leave your details, and I assure you that next meetings, if we have a public meeting, you'll be invited to attend. I mean, this forum is open for any women of Tower Hamlet Council to attend. Sorry, were you going to give us a very
No, I was just going to echo what you said, to be honest. In terms of ensuring kind of full representation, we did monitor both the survey and the workshops of who we were speaking to. And as you can see on this slide, these were the supplementary workshops that we held because we had underrepresentation across women from Black backgrounds, disabled women, LGBTQ plus women, Vietnamese and Chinese women. And these are the specific community organizations that we work with to ensure their voices. So in the short space of time, we've tried to ensure full representation of everybody in the community. And that has meant that, of course, some voices specifically were missed out. But just like the chair has said, the conversation is still open.
From personal experience, it is about going to those steering groups. And if you ask, I want to be part of that forum. So most of the time people think, okay, I never got invited, but it is about signing up to those forums. And then you get all the information. It does get sent out. So part of the network, the women's network, and because there's hundreds of, yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, but where I see that is that no, but that was sorry. Yeah, the survey is not the bulk of our work. Okay, the work is here, listening, and work is going to go forward. Sorry, you wanted to say something? Did you want to say something? No, you don't want. I'm going to close it in a minute or so. Paislani. Acha, alhamdulillah. Remind person. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. I'm really glad. Okay, thank you for coming. Thank you for attending on behalf of the group that you're working with. So we are working with Account 3. So all the major women's groups in the borough have been notified that we are at work or we are in the progress of ABC. And like Claire said, we haven't finished. We want to hear from you. If there are gaps, let us hear and consider that. And we know that there aren't tons of resources. That's one of the reasons we made sure that we're invited range of services. So health services, today police, we had borough's employers, and including Canary Wharf. So we're trying to go beyond the original remit of just taking a survey. But, and we also at every meeting presented what the council is doing themselves, because we believe ultimately this is a council's commission. So, yeah, Please.
I'm sorry, this may or may not be playing to what everyone else has said. Something that's been on my head when I heard the speaker is we are asking organizations that are set up for dealing with the crime also to deal with prevention. So in a similar way, the medical system or the doctors you go to are there to treat you for the things you're coming to. They probably are also not the same one. Ideally, in an ideal world, you'd expect them, but they are also not the ones who are going to deal with the prevention side. So equating that same analogy to, say, health, if we know what good health looks like, then you know how to do prevention. And then when that prevention fails, you have a system that deals with curing something. So in this context, what does a good society look like that is fair and equitable for all genders and all inclusive? Then we have a conversation about when those rules or boundaries are broken, there is a system that puts in place. And over the years and decades, this idea of what a good society and how men and women, children, adults, all sections work together somehow has fallen apart. And I wondered whether the commission, maybe so there's a piece of that works. I don't yet know what that looks like, but there is a piece of work of a conversation about whether it's a Tower Hamlets, because we are very unique in many other ways as a borough or as a city, there is a conversation needed around what is our society look like today? And equally, there is a piece of me thinking from the from the inspector we had about, is there any data or intelligence around the people that they are treating for the different crime? What is it about those cases that tells us about where things have gone wrong? Because a good society has many points where these values are reinforced. Home, school, communities, elders, there's so many locations. So I'm just thinking, reflecting whether there is some strand of work for the next in terms of how we take, what does a good society look like? Because without that, no amount of being good at reporting is going to deal with that side of it.
Excellent analysis. That is the reason why there's so much dissatisfaction about what's going on, and the fact that the single focus right now is Tower Hamlet Council, because we're doing this work. Single focus in a meeting that is attended by the police officers are them. And same thing, I mean, I was quite open with Canary Wharf, for instance, when we talked about employment. Where was their promise of making good a society which is going to enable and empower local people for getting jobs? I mean, that's a very simple thing. Similarly, the Tower Hamlet services, where is there good work going on? Where is there pure survival going on, all under the constraints of very, very severe cutbacks? So there are all these different issues that, of course, when you invite people to come and present, it is not for their consideration either. They can only address what their responsibility is, as we will, because we will listen and we will say, actually, we didn't find satisfaction there, or we didn't find a solution there, but that maybe other people will have more answers. But along the journey, if along our journey of this, finding each other's voices, we can maybe begin to address for our own selves from wherever we are. So, Tio from your place, Hafsa from her place, wherever we are, if we can address what you're saying about what's a good society look like, what does a good home look like? Because we cannot take away the fact that we have real issues in our homes. And why? If you look at the entire education system, I have a whole theory about that, because really girls are empowered in our borough to completely dismiss and dismantle the cultural system that they grew up with, and they're asked to be someone else entirely, absence of what's happening in their homes, then they go to their homes and the pressures on them then to comply that versus choosing maybe education because thinking that's a way out. There's some real serious issues about why Mildend Hospital Mental Health Unit is absolutely overpoured with our kids who are men, who are boys in the mental health institutions. And if you take, I mean, I come from social work background, and mental health is something that I've really focused on some part of my lives. And if they're just being saturated with medication and there's not one service available for them to way back to their lives, then what are the good society that we're building on? We're not. We're in the sand, because when they're medicated like that, they're not going to be themselves in their home with their partners, their sisters, their mothers. That's why we've had, kids killing their families, mothers. I mean, I just find that absolutely insane, but sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because just found out that mental health in young people has overtaken domestic abuse in masked referrals.
Yeah.
And in terms of Tower Hamlets, the volume of adult child to parent domestic homicide is higher than the national average.
There would be so much shame around me as a mother reporting my son or my daughter because they're heavily medicated or they're taking drugs. I mean, I just can find that insane. Sorry, go on.
Twenty 25 years ago, if they say, what are we achieving? Yes, we are achieving, we're growing, we're developing in so many areas, but exactly our community, I feel, is still hesitant. The shame, those barriers are still there and the challenges are still there, especially, when it comes to a child. You don't want a child who's abusive, who's violent. And we see that day to day. We come across it. There's parents who come to want to speak to the youth workers, want to speak to the managers, who want our help in different advocates. And so we're just thinking, how can we help them? And we do. And, it is the overburden of services. And we do know that in the borough. And I just want to end by saying thank you so much. Even Tower Hamlets, all the services like Minara, the hate crime team, the Vogue team, and everyone, and the Women's Commission. This is important work and our voices are being heard. I do feel that we are contributing. So thank you. Thank you.